in your bedroom and taking your girl and smacking her up or just touching her.
Okay, so Jason, let me respond real quickly. Jason, hang on, calm down. Jason, okay, hold on.
Well, we're going to have a disagreement on that one because if you've seen it, he was harassing kids that are in the church and made them wig out. But all I can tell you is this: if he tried to do that in my church, God willing, would have been sleeping. I'm just all I got to tell you about that. Because we are non-violent, but if you come with violence, because that was violence, you don't come in a church service and do that. So I'm just going to let you know. If God, I invite him to my church to come on and do that, because we have security.
Jason.
No. Let me finish. If Don Lennon came to my door and tried to do that, he'd be sleeping, and everybody else that's with him would all be sleeping with him. That's all I got to say about that. Okay. Now you can go ahead and expose.
Okay, so Jason, what exactly did Don Lemon do?
First of all, it's a service. That means it's sacrilege. It's number one, God. We're worshiping God, which means it's an intimate situation. That's like me coming in your room with your lady while you're having intimacy, and I walk in and go, "Oh, what are y'all doing? Oh, yeah, well, I don't want y'all to do that anymore."
But Jason, okay, but hold on, calm down for a second. Hold on, calm down for a second. So, Jason, Don Lemon wasn't protesting, though. I'm not talking about the protesters. We can get to the protesters in a moment. What Don Lemon did was he took out his cell phone in a church and he started recording. That's very different than protesting.
Okay, hold on, sir. Hold on. If you want to be 100% accurate, before he went in, he said, "This is what we're going to do." He pulled out the camera after he ate. Just like Donald Trump on January 6th. He excited them to go in and do that.
No.
Before they went in,
all right, but hold on, Jason.
This is what we're going to do.
But Jason, hold on. January 6th, people lost their lives. 140 officers were beaten. We'll get to the protesters in a moment, but to my knowledge, nobody was physically assaulted and nobody was touched. So let's not conflate this to January 6th. That's number one. Number two, while the protesters may have broken the FACE Act, while the protesters might get arrested, and I don't think it's very smart to go into a religious sanctuary and protest and disrupt a service, I can tell you that Don Lemon was not among that group protesting. If he was, then I would to an extent agree with you. He took out his camera.
But you're forgetting one big thing, though. You're really forgetting this. As an African American church, after Dylan Roof, we are no longer sitting around unarmed. So there would have been some people that might have lost their lives. That's what
I can tell you right now, Jason, I can tell you right now that if anybody took out a weapon and executed somebody, it would have been called murder because nobody's life was in jeopardy. When you're in there and you're protesting, it might be a violation. Hold on. Okay, well, Jason, I'm telling you that if somebody goes into your church and protests, even if they're breaking the law, in this case, maybe the FACE Act. Jason, hang on a second. If they go into your church and they protest, that doesn't give somebody the right to execute them just because you're breaking the law.
They would just be knocked out. They would just be knocked out.
Well, if they're knocked out, then if you're knocking somebody out for protesting in your church, then you would be arrested for assault.
That's okay. I won't go to jail for protecting my house. That's like me protecting my bedroom. Period.
Okay, but number one, your church isn't your bedroom. In order for somebody to go into your bedroom, you have to hold on. You have to open. Jason. While it's a private business, it's not your home, and the doors were open. There was nobody at the front door that was giving you permission whether you should go in or not. The doors were open.
Well, we got security for that.
Okay, but I'm just telling you. Okay, but if somebody breaks into your home, then you would have the right to defend yourself. Nobody broke into the church. What they did was they protested. It could be a violation of the FACE Act, and while I don't think it comes anywhere near a violation of what Officer Jonathan Ross did or what ICE officers are doing on the streets, if in fact those people get arrested, then fine, let the chips fall where they may. But there are people on social media that are saying Don Lemon should be thrown in jail. I'm going to say this right now. It's not going to happen. Don Lemon is not going to go to jail. Worst case scenario, maybe he'll be cited for trespassing. That's the worst case scenario. As I repeat, he was not protesting. He was not chanting anything. He wasn't disrupting anything. He simply took out his phone and started recording. And while you might not like that, that doesn't give somebody the right to knock somebody out and physically assault somebody, and it certainly doesn't give anybody the right to use deadly force. Do you see where I'm going with that, Jason?
Not in my church. You're going to get knocked out. Just letting you know off top.
All right, well,
Not in my church.
I can't condone any form of physical violence because somebody makes you feel uncomfortable, or they might be breaking the law.
That's what I'm trying to tell you. They're not getting in. Before they even come to, by the time they come to the door, either they turn around or they get knocked out. That's what I'm trying to tell you.
How would you know if they're a protester? How would you know if they're... what do you mean at the front door? How would you know if they're a protester or not?
We have cameras. We have cameras all around our church.
Okay, but how would you know? Okay, but Jason, how would you know? As there, a lot of those people that were protesting, as they were walking in, they looked like anybody else. That you wouldn't have known that for many of those people that they were protesters. What are you going to have? You're going to have.
We have a family. Our church. We know who's not. We know who's part of our church. Y'all come in, when they would have came in, we would have already known. Everybody would have been on high alert, knowing that, all right, these are people that we never seen before, so everybody be on high alert.
All right, well, listen, it's okay to be on high alert, but I think it's wrong.
Somebody would have got knocked out.
Okay, well, okay, well, I'm just giving you the law.
I'll go to jail for God.
I'll go to jail. Okay, well, Jason, I'm just giving you what the law states. That's simply all that I'm saying here. I know, but Jason, hang on. Jason, hang on a second. I'm not taking a side here. I'm just telling you the facts. I'm just telling you the facts of what happened. Hold on, Jason, this is really important. Those people probably broke the FACE Act. Those people probably will be arrested, especially under the Trump administration. But I'm telling you, number one, this is a fact. Don Lemon wasn't protesting. At worst case scenario, he'll be cited for trespassing. I'm also telling you that just because somebody goes into your religious sanctuary and starts chanting something, that doesn't give you the right to assault them. I know that's what you said you would do, but that doesn't give somebody the right to put their hands on somebody else, Jason. That's the point I'm trying to make, and I guess that's where we have some sort of disagreement. I don't know why. You could say you would want to do that to somebody, but that doesn't mean you have the right to physically assault somebody because they're protesting on private. For example, what you're saying is this. Hold on, Jason. Jason, hang on one second, Jason. Jason, this is important. Jason, hang on. Just hear me out. Jason, just hear me out on this and then take the floor. What you're basically saying is if anybody protested a private business, for example, if somebody starts protesting in a restaurant or a mall or a shop, what you are saying is any citizen can go up to those protesters and physically assault them. Jason, that can't happen in society.
Okay, sir, you said I could have the floor. It's a totally different thing from a restaurant to a church.
They're both private property.
I don't have intimacy in the church. I have intimacy with my Father in heaven. When I go to that church, I get on my knees and give God all the glory. I have a personal relationship with my Father in heaven. So when I'm in there, I am having intimacy with my God. And so that's like me, I'm expressing this to you once again. That's like me going in your bedroom and taking your girl and smacking her up or just touching her.
Okay, so Jason, let me respond real quickly. Jason, hang on, calm down. Jason, okay, hold on. Jason, calm down for a second. Let me just respond to what you just said. So you have the right to that opinion that a religious sanctuary is very personal to you, but it doesn't change what the law says. If somebody goes into a private entity, whether it be a church or a restaurant, and they start illegally protesting and they're asked to leave, that still doesn't give you the right legally to put your hands on them. And the point I'm trying to make is because you keep talking about I understand that the church is an extremely personal thing to a lot of people, or any religious sanctuary. I understand that. But the difference between a church and your bedroom is if somebody knocks on your door and you don't want them in and you don't allow them to come in and they break in, then in most states you would have the right to use physical force. But you have to, but what they're doing in the church is They're walking in because it's open to the public, even though it's private property. There is also a fine line difference between your bedroom and a church.
Can I say this one thing then? Then if he was so brave to do that, why don't we go to a Muslim church and do that? I mean, a Muslim mosque. You know why? Because they would kill them all. Because that's the way.
And that would also be murder and against the law. Jason, I understand your passion, Jason, but the law applies equally, or should apply equally, to everyone. And okay, but I'm just telling you factual stuff here. If somebody is protesting in your church, they will probably be arrested. They probably won't get jail time if they don't have a criminal record. They will probably get a couple months of probation. They will be cited. If you put your hands on somebody according to the law, it could be more serious and a more serious felony than anything that protester did. Why? Because if you cause somebody bodily harm, or God forbid somebody is severely injured or losing their life, you could go to jail for decades for something like that. So, Jason, I want you to think about that before you take matters into your own hands, if in fact, and I hope it doesn't happen, something like that happens in your religious sanctuary. We can't be vigilantes and take matters into our own hands. If you decide to physically assault somebody on emotion, then you're doing something no better than what some of these ICE agents are doing. We all need to be able to check ourselves at the door. I don't think that anybody should be allowed to go into a religious sanctuary and protest. Yes, that is not a smart thing to do. It's probably breaking the FACE Act. Don Lemon did not do that. I want to be very clear on that. But I'm with you on that. I'm on your side. I don't think those people who protested were very intelligent in doing so. They shouldn't have done it. But that doesn't mean we have the right to physically assault people. Then you're no better than the January 6ers who beat cops with their own batons. Don't be like them, Jason. I have respect for you, and I think you're too smart for that. Don't let your emotions get in the way in what is wrong and what is right. Thank you for the phone call.